Karl Tanzler was a very strange man, who was born February 8, 1877. To say he had problems with reality would be a bit of an understatement. He claimed as a young boy that his deceased grandmother came to him in a dream, and showed him a vision of his true love with who he was meant to be with. A young Latino woman, who was breathtakingly beautiful. Tanzler was born in Dresden, Germany, but grew up in Imperial. Sometime around the beginning of World War I, he ended up in Australia. Around this time, he also started to claim that he was a count, and that his name was Count Karl Tanzler von Cosel. When Tanzler was 43 years old, he must have tired of waiting for his Spanish bride that was foretold, because he soon married Doris Schaefer, and had 2 daughters, of which only one lived. After relocating to the United States in 1926, he was soon joined by his family the following year, but in a complete and total dick move. He left them behind in Zephyrhills in 1927, and he moved to Key West, Florida, where he took a job as a radiologist at the U.S. Marine Hospital. After working there 3 years, Tanzler met a new patient, Maria Elena Milagro de Hoyos, or Helen, as she liked to be called. Much to his surprise, it was what he thought was the vision that his dead grandmother had told him about. Karl fell head over heels, insanely in love at first sight. There was one problem though: his new object of his affection had a very deadly illness, tuberculosis. Helen grew up with 2 sisters with their father, who was named Pancho. She married sometime around the age of 16, but her new husband left her after she had a miscarriage. Soon, more tragedy was soon to follow, when most of her immediate family died of the same disease she had gotten. When she went to the hospital, she had hoped that maybe there was some hope of a cure, and that is exactly what Karl Tanzler promised her. He started going above and beyond for his beautiful new patient, showering her with attention. She soon began to realize that the older man was infatuated with her, and although it was not a mutual feeling, she did want to get well, so she put up with his advances the best she could. Imagine being sick with a fatal disease after losing nearly all of your family, and through it all, having to put up with the advances of a creepy old man while you're sick. Anywho. Despite giving it his all, it wasn't enough. Helen died at her parents' home in 1931. Overstruck with grief and sadness, Karl offered to pay for the funeral, as well as buy her own mausoleum. The family had known that he was infatuated with her, but if they had only known of the sick plans that was in Karl's twisted head. After he bought the tomb, Karl retained the only key. The reason was that he would go there in the dead of night and do, who knows what to the poor corpse. He was soon caught and fired from his job at the hospital. As her body began to decay and rot, Karl wanted to find a way to preserve her, so in the late hours of the night, he went to her tomb once again, and stole the body, and carried her to his home. He immediately began to try to repair her body the best he could. He filled her body with rags to retain the shape, used wax and silk cloth to try to repair the skin, after tying her bones together with wire. He even put in glass eyes to make her look more real. The most disturbing thing was that it was later even reported that he had put in an artificial vagina. This guy was totally screwed in the head. His neighbors began to talk about seeing him dancing around with a life-size love doll, but if they only knew the truth about what he was really doing. After hearing these types of stories, one of her remaining sisters, who had lived, found out, and went to Tanzler's home to see for herself. He denied everything but was soon caught when they came to investigate. Although this nut job was found mentally stable to stand trial, charges had to be dropped because the statute of limitations had ran out. Karl was once again a free man. His corpse bride was of course taken from him, and was buried in an unmarked grave, so he couldn't defile her anymore, so she could finally rest in peace. You'd think after all the embarrassment, that he'd just move on or find a bride who was still alive, but nope, not Karl. He soon started making a wax love doll from other supplies he had laying around, and used it in the same way. Ew. This guy was nasty. Even more surprisingly was the fact that after writing a book about his dark deeds, his first wife helped take care of him until his death in 1952. He was 75 years old. Wow, what a story. If you liked it, we hope you'll give us a thumbs up and hit the old subscribe button. You'd be helping us out a lot. Also, check out our merchandise in the description box below. Thanks for watching, till next time.